All right, so we're at the review for Unit 16. We learned a whole bunch of facts about angles. So which angles are adjacent to A? Really, this is a vocabulary test. You have to know your vocabulary. Adjacent to A are B and D, all right, because they're the ones next to it. That's what adjacent means. Which angle is vertical to A? That's C. When they're back to back like that, they are vertical. Vertical does not mean up and down in this case. If A is 72, the vertical angle, C, has to be 72. And the adjacent angles along a straight line, all right, those are angles are next to each other, adjacent along a straight line, they have to add up to 180. And so they both must be 108 degrees. Everyone's going to be able to do the math on this test. It's all about, do you know the vocabulary? Right? This line, do you remember what that line is called? It's called a transversal. And if it's crossing two parallel lines, it makes a whole bunch of patterns here. What is the measure of the angle supplementary to the given angle? All right, supplementary means adds up to 180. So any angle supplementary to that must be 174 degrees. This one says complementary. So what does that mean? That means it has to add up to 90 with this angle. So the complementary angle to that is 47 degrees. Please, supplementary, add up to 180. Complementary, add up to 90. Right? Here's some complementary angles. Here's one that's 43 degrees, and then here's one that's 47 degrees, and they add up to 90. Are the angles complementary? Well, if they are, they have to add up to 90. Nope, they add up to 80, so they're not. So we would say no, they are not complementary. So along a line, the two angles there have to add up to 180. So we're going to solve very simple two-step equation, right? Understanding that those two add up to 180. Once you know that, whoops, I have to actually subtract. The math is easy. And so x is 24 degrees, right? That angle is 2 times 24, 48. Remember, we're finding x, not this angle. Now, here's the one that's going to trip up some people on the test. Write the equation for this. Yeah, they don't add up to 180. If you wrote they add up to 180, right? They're vertical to each other. They're back to back. So that means they're equal to each other. So the equation here is 2x equals 132. You're going to get, right, totally different than the last equation. Vertical angles equal each other. And so 132 divided by 2, 2 into 13 goes 6, 2 into 12 goes, I made a mistake here, haven't I? 66? No, that's right, 66 degrees. So there's a 90-degree angle. Again, this is another one that might trip people up, right? Because so many of the equations you say add up to 180. These don't add up to 180. They add up to 90, right? That's a 90-degree angle. We solve the two-step equation. So x there is 18 degrees. On the test, you will not type in the degree symbol. You will not type in x. You will just write 18 in the blank, right? Here you will just type in 66 in the blank, please. So what angles are congruent to angle B? That means the same size, right? So B is there. Well, D is the same size because it's vertical. And right, we're going to write the reason. So it's vertical. And then F is the same size because it's corresponding, another vocabulary word. Right? Corresponding in math is used a lot. It means matching whenever you see it. And this was vertical to B. This was corresponding to B. And the last one is H, right? And H has two possibilities for the reason. You could say vertical to F, or which we already know is the same, or you could say, or you don't have to say both, corresponding to D. So the angles are D, F, and H that are congruent to the original B. If B is 116, what's the measure of E? All right, so B is 116. We know F is 116. Well, we know E and F have to add up to 180. Okay, find the measure of X. All right, well, we could do this many ways, but this is 112. That means that's 112. All right, so we have vertical angles there. All right, so that means 4x plus 8 equals 112. They don't add up to 180. They're not side to side. They're not adjacent along a straight line. They're congruent. They're vertical. So we make them equal. And so X there has to be 26 degrees. Those are the interior angles. Those are interior. They're inside. Always add up to 180, right? Just like the supplementary angles. By the way, you don't call these supplementary. Supplementary is for 2 angles. It's not for 3. But supplementary angles and the inside or interior angles always add up to 180. So X has to be 74 degrees. All right, so that's that lesson. This is an exterior angle. What did we learn about exterior angles? The exterior angle always equals the sum of the 2 interior angles that are not adjacent. Right, here's the adjacent one right here. All right, let's call that Y. All right, but this one equals the X plus the 90. Okay. So this X must be 60 degrees, right? The exterior angle on a triangle, right? I made that arc pretty large. Usually I make it smaller, but the exterior angle always has to equal the sum of the 2 interior angles that are not adjacent. So we learned, right? If 2 of the angles or 3 of the angles are the same, they have to be similar. So let's see that. We know we can figure out this angle right there because 32 plus 97 plus, I'm going to call it y, has to equal 180. So 97 plus 32. So 129 plus y equals 180. Subtract 129 from both sides. And we're getting 51. Yeah, 51 degrees. So this is 51 degrees, right? Uh-oh, right? They happen to be the same. This says 50. That does not match. I double check my math to make sure I'm right. But no, this is not true. And that this one is also 33 here. Also, those are not similar. The angles in similar triangles are exactly the same. So we're going to find x here. All right, so if this one's 74 and I'm saying they're similar, that means that's 74. And so x minus 2, that angle right there has a measurement of x minus 2. That plus the 40 plus the 74 equals the 180. For those who are wondering why I was always writing these as equations, even when you probably could do them in your head originally, this is why, because they get more complicated, and you're going to do more complicated ones in high school. So 40 plus 74, but it's 114. But now x negative 2, it's plus that is 112, right? So this is x plus 112 equals 180. Now you could have done this in many different ways. Negative 2 plus 40, let's just do that. It's 38. 38 plus 74 is 112. Right here, I did that, right? So we subtract 112 from both sides. And what are we getting? 68 degrees. The triangles are similar. Find x and y. Okay. Now, let's look here. 5 times what makes 10? Oh, 2. My scale factor is 2. I've been doing that a lot, making them too easy. Scale factor is 2. Let's double check that. It's 2.75 times 2, 5.5. Yeah, it is, right? Move the decimal twice. And 3.2 times 2 is 6.4. Oh, this is a tricky one. All right, so y minus 8 has to equal 6.4 equals y minus 8. Well, this is a tough one, right? And so, right, because if this is 3.2 and the sides are all twice as big, then this one has to be 6.4. Well, we can add, once you realize that, you line up your decimal points, and y must be 14.4. If you got that without my help, very good for you. All right, now the angles. The angles have to be the same, right? So this is 2x minus 2. This has to be 2x minus 2. So I'm going to give myself some room here and use a different color. So 2x minus 2 plus, let's do 24 first, plus 118. 118, let's make sure I write that correctly, equals 180. Negative 2 plus 24 is 22. 22 plus 118, 140. All right, once you get all there, now we're at the easy part, two-step equation. I doubt I will have one that hard on the test, but similar triangles, right? The angles have to be the same as each other, and the sides are some multiple of each other. And here, this one, K, the scale factor was 2. The second one was twice as big. All right, practice. The vertical angles are the same. The adjacent angles add up to, along a straight line, add up to 180. Complementary, what does that mean? It means adds up to 90. The exterior angle always equals these two non-adjacent ones added up. So this x plus 15 plus this 70 has to equal 140. The exterior angle equals the two interior angles that are not adjacent to it, not next to it. So x plus 85 so x here is 55 degrees. right? Do those add up to 180, or are they equal to each other? They're equal to each other, right? They're vertical. So x is 44. Please, someone on the test is going to add those up to 180. Don't be that person. Corresponding angles, right? That corresponds, so it's the same measurement. Then these two are along a straight line, right? So that must be a 180-degree angle right there. So you add those up. 8x minus 2 plus 78 equals 180. Negative 2 plus 78, 76. X is 13 degrees. All right, now the scale factor here is 1/2, right? 10, right? You put, right, because you read these left to right. So it's 10 divided by 20, 1/2, or 0.5, you'd say the scale factor is. It's getting smaller. Okay, now the angles have to be the same. So if that one's 3x plus 1, this one's 3x plus 1. So 40 plus 103 plus 3x plus 1 equals 180. 143 plus 1 is 144. I'm just going to rearrange that a little bit in the normal order. You don't have to. So x here is 12 degrees. Now let's find y. All right, so y, this side is half of S8. So y plus 3 doesn't equal 8, and that's the tricky part. Y plus 3 equals 4, right? 4 centimeters in this case. So y plus 3 has to equal 4. Subtract 3 from both sides. Y equals 1 centimeter, right? Because these sides are half the size of the original one. Good luck on the test.